under the Creekside Allocation Fund. This amount is 50% of the TIF proceeds that were payable in June, or they were payable in May. The agreement is a 50-50 TIF split, and so there will be another amount in November that will be about the same amount. December.
Yep, and then January will be when the claim will go.
Yes. So it'll hit next year. And then, of course, we have the anticipated catch-up payment that will happen as soon as we have closing on whoever hits first as far as closing on their lots in Creekside. But wanted to draw your attention to that because that's a significant amount and it's new on our claims. Is there any objection to approval of the consent items? Seeing no objections, those items are approved. We'll move next to the director's report. Corey?
Thank you, commissioners. Good morning. I have 3 updates for you this morning. The first is Creekside Corporate Park. We are moving along towards closing on 5 different properties. Lots 4 and 5 are scheduled to close in November. Lots 7 and 8 may close this year. We may cross the new year and close with them. And then lot 9 is Intelligent Living. They are currently working through their due diligence. I heard back from them last week. They have hired their designer, contractor, gotten their survey, starting to fulfill their financial investors to purchase the property and build the project. We are working with their legal team to finalize the purchase agreement. Currently, they're operating under a letter of intent, and we want to formalize that so we can establish a closing date. We expect that to be back before you in October, and probably at the same time, I would also expect them to request an extension on their due diligence, which is part of the LOI. So we may roll that into the purchase agreement just as is, or we may opt to make it a separate agreement. So that is Creekside, where we're at on those projects. If you have not been by the Graham Ray Hall Performance project, it is open and fantastic. I don't know if any of you had a chance to make it to the grand opening, or Commissioner Esra, if you had any additional comments on that project?
Other than if you get a chance to go over there and check it out, definitely do. It's an amazing building.
Yeah.
It really is. I asked Brittany, Graham's assistant, walked me around the building, and I asked her if there was anything like this anywhere around us in the Midwest. She didn't think that there was anything like it really in the United States. It's really a unique place. If you get a chance to go check it out, you should.
Yeah, and honestly, it looks just like the renderings. I mean, right down to the motorcycles in the window. I mean, it looks just like the renderings. So
Beautiful building.
encourage you to get over there. Yeah. You mean I need to lower the microphone? All right, the next update I have for you is the Wild Air TIF bond closing. This is the mixed-use development multifamily project on Oak Street and Marysville Road, just north of Oak Street. Our team successfully closed on the project on Friday. Zach did a fantastic job of pulling together all of the signatures and from last minute running to downtown, and so that closed successfully. Moving forward, I would expect us to have their first draw receipts and ask for payment on that. So that bond is closed and project is moving forward. Zach, did you want to add anything to that?
Nope.
Okay. Then finally, I would like to add this Standing Ready grant update for you. The mayor has asked for me to administer the Ready Grant for the town, and he did that by way of Commissioner Kintner. And so I have been working with him and the other department directors of Parks, Planning, and DPW to make sure that all of our funds are allocated for the initial grant of $1.9 million, and then that we are getting reimbursements from the grant. CERTA is the financial advisor for that. We submit claims to them. So we're working with DPW to get those claims submitted and reimbursed. Another part of the Ready Grant is making sure that we are obligating all of our funds by the end of the year. And currently we have under contract A&F Engineering and USI Consultants to do the road engineering. And part of the Ready program, the scope, the idea, concept around public improvements in the Village and South Village area was also a plaza. So this past week, I issued an RFP on behalf of the town to seek landscape architecture services to produce design options for a public plaza. The idea is to get these consultant fees so that we can obligate those prior to year end. And maybe after the end of the meeting, we'll send you a link to where they're at. They're on the town website. We distributed them to local, in addition to being online and public newspaper, we distributed them to several local firms. So that's the status update on that. I may have gotten ahead of my skis and sent that out before running it past the commission and blending the two, the administration and the commission together. So I apologize for doing that. As I am kind of understanding my involvement with the Ready program, I will be sure to bring these proposals in front of you so you can get your eyes on them, and then distribute it and work through the mayor's administration to implement the program. And
I want to interpose here. Can we get, I'd like to make a motion that we grant Corey the authority on behalf of the commission to continue doing this work. It is tied to redevelopment in the Zionsville EDA. There is a redevelopment component to this, and want to make sure that you have all authority from the commission to continue doing this work. So I make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. So you can continue doing that.
great, thank you for your support. That concludes my report. Later on in the agenda, I'll walk through budget items.
All right. Any questions for Corey on her report? All right. We'll move next to old business. We have no old business, so we'll continue on to new business, and we have two items. First being Holiday Farms, the Century Development, and there have been some disbursement requests that were made. Corey, do you want to walk through what this is? My understanding is that these items being submitted have been reviewed to ensure that they are lawful reimbursements that can be made.
That's correct. I passed along both of these reimbursement requests to our financial advisor and our legal advisor, and both of them have signed off saying that the expenses incurred on these reports are aligned with the bond documents. And so this is a standard process for any project, like I just mentioned. Holiday or Wild Air just closed their TIF. They will come forward in these types of things where they'll submit the expenses that they have incurred, and then basically requesting a bond draw of their own bond. But because they've used a public process, we are involved in that process to make draws on that.
Any questions about these items? Is there a motion to approve the disbursement requests for August and September?
So moved.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. We'll move next to the Redevelopment Commission budget for 2025.
Mr. Rest, would you mind sharing my screen on the, thank you. We have a draft budget that we would like to present to you. We have been working on this budget at the Finance Committee level, and we have been working with our financial advisor, Crow, to finesse these numbers. We are presenting a budget similar to what we did last year. I see that I have to bring it over to the screen. Okay. So the way that we've organized this budget is the first section of areas are basically our Zionsville EDA area. It is a, boy, this is really hard to manage on this. And then we've got Oak Street EDA, Creekside EDA, and cash on hand. These are economic development areas and our cash that we are directly involved with. They either have public debt obligations or our own cash. Then the second part of the budget is the developer purchased bonds. They are EDAs in the town that private developers have come to us and asked for a debt mechanism, and we are responsible for tracking that debt and repayment of the debt. So below in this section, we've got our projects all the way down to the most recent one, the Wild Air EDA. So let me go back to the top. Each of these sections are organized by way of revenue in, expenses out, and then our final balance. In the yellow column, you'll see a 2025 draft, and then the gray column is the 2025 projection as it was presented in 2024, just by comparison. We have worked through this budget with the Finance Committee and established that what we wanted to do today was present this draft, and then you can consider taking a motion on it in the future. But we can have general discussion. If you would like for me to review this in detail, I'm happy to review it in detail, or I can take general questions as you may have them.
Will there be any so we just talked about the Ready Grant and obligating the funds. Will there be any expenses anticipated in the Zionsville EDA related to Ready Grant next year? So money in, money out?
Money in, money out, and the Ready Grant is a Town of Zionsville grant that is it has a obligation in the town council's budget.
Town budget, not
So
ours.
it was not seen in the RDC's budget.
Okay, so for 24, we had a line item for the Ready Grant. That won't continue in our budget?
Right.
Okay, understood. And then this amount for the Creekside EDA for the payment to the schools, that is what we expect to be a January payment and a May payment, or June?
Yes,
And then,
just two payments only, taking the TIF in, splitting it by 50% and expensing that 50% out to the school.
Okay,
The back payment, which is just over 200,000, we expect to be payable this year.
Okay.
And my thought is that when we close on the properties in Creekside, if we can make a lump sum payment, we'll just do it, we'll have the title company do that at closing and write them a check at closing.
okay. So we will just add that to whichever one closes first?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any context for why that number is so different from the 25 projection? The 91.7 versus 252? So in the gray column, it's 91.7.
Yes, and you will see that above in row 30, our revenue is 504,000.
Okay.
The difference is Graham Ray Hall.
Okay.
So the revenue, the tax revenue coming in for Graham Ray Hall is now seen
Got it.
since their project is complete.
Okay. Makes
So
sense.
if I might add, the option here, kind of from the finance committee situation, is we can do a couple different things. We could theoretically motion to approve this budget currently, or give it to the next meeting, and that would give all the commissioners time to take a look at it, propose questions. We can take those questions to the finance committee, then approve it at the end of October, and then it would go before the town council in November.
And that still meets all the devs.
I believe that meets everything that we need to do.
We need to present our budget to council and the mayoral administration by the end of the year. So,
Just present it,
present it.
nothing, okay.
So we also have to do like a spending plan that has to be submitted to DLGF. Are we planning to submit the
This is-
budget as the spending plan?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, this is more detailed than what we looked at in our previous meeting. I'd like to spend some time with this if that's possible. So if there's not any objection to just table this until the October meeting?
That'd be fine.
Okay. Any other questions? No. Thanks, Corey.
You're welcome.
We'll move next to other business and start with the Finance Committee, Commissioner Ezra.
So, we've kind of spoken about some of the things here as the RDC budget. We just discussed, everyone will have the opportunity to go over this budget, and then in our October meeting, we'll approve or make whatever changes we've had to it. The only other thing that we spoke about were the property appraisals that we have going on in several different areas. Some of them in the TIF area right here, in Town Hall area, property in the TIF area for downtown, the Zionsville TIF, and then also in Creekside. There's quite a lot of different actions going on with all of those, and different situations where different companies are looking at moving on different pieces of land. So we're gonna have to do land appraisals for that, and so I think coming in October, we'll probably have a better idea about all of those situations. So that's basically it
Okay.
from the Finance Committee.
Any questions? No? We'll move next to.
I'm not sure I understand.
That's right. We'll move next to the Governance Subcommittee. We tabled at our last meeting the item of legal representation for the RDC, and so we'll bring that item back up for discussion. I'm going to extend an apology for last month. it probably would have been better for each commissioner to have access to all the proposals that the governance committee received, and then some deeper explanation of the recommendation that was made, and that was not given, and so I'll take responsibility for that. If you remember from last month, we also shared with the commissioners yesterday a brief memo kind of outlining the recommendation, the process for asking for proposals, receiving proposals, working through each of the firms that submitted a proposal and meeting with them, and then coming up with the final recommendation and how those proposals were scored. And so I will open up the floor to any discussion. The recommendation remains as it was last month, which was to engage Barnes & Thornburg as our primary legal representative. And happy to take any questions or open up the floor to any discussion.
I just want to express appreciation for the information that you did share. That was great. Helps clarify a lot.
Trying to pull up the memo. Is there any other discussion about the recommendation or any of the process? Well, I will move the recommendation to engage Barnes & Thornburg as the legal representative for the RDC. As the commissioners may well know, we have a large pipeline of projects in Creekside and with Century and Wild Air that we have been working with Ice Miller on, and that will continue until those projects have wrapped up. And this would apply to going forward any new items that would come before the RDC. Is there, I just made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Aye. Motion carries 3-1. Commissioner Pierce isn't here today to provide a CDC update. Zach, are you able to provide an update?
Yeah, there are no updates at this time. They canceled their meeting for this month and moved it to the beginning of October due to scheduling conflicts.
Okay, thank you. We have no other items on the agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned at 9:24 a.m.